No pressure there. Okay, I do want to talk about Malik Nabers, who you went with in the third round in this draft. Eighth pick in the third round. I went DJ Moore, the pick after. DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, Amari Cooper were all right after. And then George Pickens was the top of the fourth round. Zay Flowers, top of the fourth round, right behind Pickens there. Dalton, I love Malik Nabers. I think he's a great player. I am just very worried that the Giants are going to be the worst offense in the league. I have him as the 25th ranked wide receiver right now, behind, again, a lot of the guys we just talked about. I wouldn't take George Pickens over him, but pretty much everybody else I talked about there, I would take ahead of Malik Nabers. Am I wrong in this?
Well, Nabers is interesting. On some sites, his ADP is just so drastically different, and I guess I land on the more aggressive end here. Again, I didn't want to take Nabers here. I wanted Kupp, and he gets routinely available middle of round 3. But yes, Nabers was definitely the next guy on my rankings. Just a crazy college career, topping 3,000 yards and 21 touchdowns. He has a lot of college metrics, was more impressive than Marvin Harrison Jr., and Nabers has not turned 21 years old. There's other stuff out there, like he wasn't great against press, and he did a lot of his production on slants. How's that going to translate? But man, he puts up a highlight every other practice. How are they not going to give him 1 million targets? Stephon Diggs averaged 165 targets in this Dable offense. Daniel Jones had a near league average success rate with Dable. I think he can be competent if he's back fully healthy. Maybe I'm off on that. Dable's runs crazy. He's top 5 no huddle rate, super top 3 in pace last year with a bad offense. So now that he has Nabers, no Darren Waller, no Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's a joke, the rest of the play. How is he not week 1? How is he not going to, they're going to lose and they're going to have 14 targets and everyone's going to be like, oh boy, we should, I just don't see how they're not going to be 1 million targets to this guy on a team always losing.
For the record, Malik Nabers did turn 21 on July 28th. So
okay, I was off the week. Sorry. All right.
Happy birthday to Malik Nabers there. Happy belated. But yeah, he is a super young player. Man, I'm just very curious as to how they're going to deploy him because the rest of the receiver room is so lacking, right? But they have a lot of guys who are primary slot players. Malik Nabers was a primary slot player in college. Now, I think he can function and win outside, but I just wonder if there'll be a little bit of a learning curve there. The fact that there's a new Malik Nabers highlight on your Twitter timeline every week could not possibly move me less for 2 reasons. One, I don't know who's playing DB for the Giants, but give me a break. Number 2, the Giants are a huge media market. These aggregators have aggregator season maybe. The aggregators have an incentive to post Malik Nabers highlights because they're going to get shared and retweeted and the whole thing. So couldn't care less about that. But I don't know. I think he's more of a safer 4th round pick than a 3rd round pick. But you're right that for sure he could have 14 targets in week 1 and we're having a very, very different conversation here. I just think that the floor potential. The floor potential for a player like this on a weekly basis, I do think is a little problematic until I see the deployment. Now, because again, if they're going to do sort of the comparison I've made, like a rookie season Jalen Waddle type of situation where they're feeding him a lot of things underneath and just trying to get him loose after the catch, despite the fact that he's an explosive downfield receiver, I do think that's going to boost his fantasy floor with a lot of garbage production. But again, it boosts the fantasy floor. But for now, I think that there is a chance that the weekly floor could be pretty problematic just because I'm not quite sure how they're going to deploy him yet.
Yeah, I just think he looks like the new Chase, but I'm completely open to being wrong here. I mean, it is definitely a leap of faith in the middle of the 3rd round. But having said that, in Yahoo Drafts right now, he's going 50 picks after Marvin Harrison. And again, this guy had a lot of underlying metrics better than Harrison as a younger player in college, and a similar setup, only Harrison, yes, the better quarterback, but also the league's best tight end to compete for targets. So
I don't know about that.
I think we'll get to McBride pick here soon, but yeah, Nabers is just a guy I'm going to swing for the fences if Kupp's not there or Waddle. I love both those guys, and they believe they went picks right before it. Yeah. So talk about DJ Moore, because he's an interesting one. I actually used him as my hardest player to rank this year. I mean, on one hand, this guy was a top 5 fantasy receiver with Justin Fields last year. And Caleb Williams could be an immediate star. Keenan Allen has an injury history. He's 32 years old. Odunze was sidelined by this offensive coordinator. Sidelined JSN last year. Moore had the highest first read target share in 3rd and 4th downs last year. But on the other hand, we're dealing with he's on a franchise that's never had a quarterback produce 4,000 yards or 30 touchdown passes. And Caleb Williams showed flaws as a rookie. Keenan Allen remains a target hog. And Odunze, you had Odunze ranked ahead of Nabers, right? You have
Correct.
him
Yes.
as a better
Yep.
prospect entering this year. I should have brought that up. I read that as a note, but you actually like Odunze better as a player right now entering the league than this dope. I'm taking Nabers, in the round 3. Interesting. I should maybe listen to my podcast partner.
To be clear, I have there's like a huge gap in my rankings between Odunze and Malik Nabers this year because of the situation. But I do have Rome Odunze ranked ahead of Keenan Allen this year. I'm gonna fade Keenan Allen for the second year in a row and look like a jackass probably again. But just I think the upside with Odunze is pretty significant, and the fact that this offensive coordinator did push Jackson Smith-Njigba to the side, but there's a couple of things to consider here. One, Shane Waldron being the offensive coordinator, by the way, with Seattle last year, with Chicago this year. One, JSN did miss time in preseason and in training camp a little bit with an injury. So any missed time for rookie wide receivers in the offseason stinks. It's just, you can really put yourself behind the 8 ball, behind the learning curve by doing that. And two, they viewed JSN as a almost slot only player. I don't think he is a slot only player, but that was clearly going to be his role with this team. And so he's coming off the field in 2 receiver sets. Rome Odunze is not a slot receiver. Rome Odunze might play more snaps at X receiver than DJ Moore this year. I actually think that might be best for the Chicago Bears wide receiver core. So he should, if he's good and locked in, he should be on the field for every single snap. And I think Keenan Allen's the guy who's the slot only player at this point in his career. Now, if I had to bet week 1, week 2, week 3, I think Keenan Allen probably does outsnap Rome Odunze, but just if Odunze continues to come on, if Caleb Williams, who clearly loves Rome Odunze, continues to prefer the rookie wide receiver, I think over time there will be a flip there. But for DJ Moore, I don't know. Look, I've got him ranked right now as my 19th wide receiver. He was just the next player on my board from a receiver perspective here. I don't know that I love him as a 3rd round pick, but the guy legitimately played like a top 10 NFL wide receiver last year. Was awesome with Justin Fields. Showed that he can win in multiple ways. I think the fact that DJ Moore is not just a great vertical X receiver, but can also be fed designed short underneath touches. You mentioned he was a first read target share dominator last year. I think he should be the first read player for the Chicago Bears. I do think there's top 15 wide receiver upside for DJ Moore. Maybe not wide receiver 1 upside in this receiver room with all these guys, but such a good player in the prime of his career with what should be an upgraded quarterback, even if Caleb Williams, we can't bet on rookie quarterbacks all being needle movers. I have Caleb Williams, my 20th ranked fantasy quarterback at the bottom of my 4th tier, because I don't expect him to run like Jaden Daniels, who you took here. But overall, I just think this offense should be a little bit better than it was certainly last year with Justin Fields, and DJ Moore is just, I think, a little too good to be denied here.
I don't know if I'm ready to do Nabers versus Moore as our yearly wide receiver bet, but I will point out Moore's averages 4.8 touchdowns during his career. So that stat I mentioned where he averaged, we saw 45.5% first read target share on 3rd and 4th downs last year. The player who was 3rd was Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
So, he's Keenan Allen, Odunze, outdoors, DJ Moore. Yeah, I'm taking Nabers 8 days a week there, but we'll probably look. Oh yeah,
you love Malik Nabers in the outdoor weather with Drew Lock.
Yeah, I know.
Playing December and January games.
I love the pushback. These are so fair. I know, and he's never shown it in the level. Who knows? Okay. But DJ Moore was a legitimate star last year, and Justin Fields was throwing to him. Okay, fair. And full PPR here too probably bumps up DJ Moore a little too.